my system, I use R.I.SIFT, and I love R.I.SIFT because it manages my data effectively, and it allows me to not only have a data management platform, but I use it as a CRM as well, and I can customize it to the way I want. It's not as customizable as Podio or Go High Level, but it's built by a real estate investor for real estate investors. And just the insights that you can get with REI-SIFT is second to none, and it's very intuitive, very easy to use. We have our leads in stages, and this is why I like REI-SIFT, because I can create this to fit it into whatever stage that's necessary according to what we got going on, whether it be a flip project or deep prospecting and acquisitions or lead management. So in lead management, every single lead comes into engage new lead. So my lead manager is hitting them every single day. That's the first thing she does. As soon as something hits engage new lead, she's hitting them. She's not in the country right now, so that's why we have a built up of 26 leads here. But if she is able to get a hold of them, then that lead either becomes hot, cold, warm, or not interested, right? If it becomes not interested, then we question whether it was a lead in the first place, and that's then a conversation I have to have with my VA on why did you send this lead? What made you thought, that it was a motivated lead? But if it doesn't get contacted within the engaged new lead first, then we move it into follow-up 1, follow-up 2, and then follow-up 3. And it just goes through these cycles, so she knows, okay, this one I didn't get a hold of. We got to hit our engaged follow-up 1s. We got to hit our engaged follow-up 2. And then we just move them down the line. It's like a conveyor belt. And then if she can't get a hold of them by engaged follow-up 3, so we hit them at least 4 times, because you're hitting up your engaged new lead. That's 1 follow-up, 2, 3, and then 4. Once you got to that 4th call, and they have previously said that they're looking to sell, at that point we'll either send them direct mail, or we'll move it into cold and move it on a long-term follow-up, about 45 days. So once we get a hold of them, like I said, they become hot lead, warm lead, or cold lead. Every lead starts off as a hot lead, and then they prove to us whether it's cold or warm based on timeline and motivation. So that just ensures that we're working every single new lead that comes in and making sure we give them, utmost customer service, that we're asking all the questions, we're trying to find solutions and giving them an offer instead of ruling every single lead out based on price. Because a lot of times, especially with my acquisitions folks, they'll get turned off by somebody that's asking $350,000 for a house when Zillow says it's like $300,000 or whatever. And we don't really use Zillow as a baseline, but it's a good way to judge whether or not somebody's delusional or not. But then again, price doesn't mean anything. It's the situation and the motivation that matters, and their timeline. We can work with price all day. We can provide them with different solutions as long as is there a motivation to sell. That's what we're looking at. And that's what will determine whether it's a cold, warm, or hot lead. Hot lead is anybody that has a true motivation, distressed property that wants to sell within 30 days or less. A warm lead is somebody that has a motivation, but there's a timeline to where there's something that needs to happen, and their timeline to sell is between 30 days to about 60 days. And when I say sell, I mean from them signing a contract, not closing. Cold lead is 60 days all the way plus, sometimes even 60 to 90 days plus. That's what we consider a cold lead. Our lead manager, they determine whether or not one of these leads is ready for an offer. Then it gets sent to our acquisitions board. So a lead manager is quite literally somebody who manages all the leads. Every single lead that comes into your database, they're getting qualified, right? They're getting qualified on whether or not this lead is ready to sign now, and if they should be talking to a closer. That's what we call our acquisitions manager. Lead manager is like that front, I guess, that guard between the leads, that gatekeeper that keeps good leads funneled in to get an offer, and bad leads or warm leads, cold leads, anything that needs a little bit more nurturing, a little bit more follow-up, they keep that gate closed and they work on those leads. So that way when they're ready, then they talk to a lead or a acquisitions closer to get them an offer and close. Because every single lead that comes in the database, they're not all going to be ready and they need follow-up, right? An acquisitions person, closer, should be focused on just closing, going on appointments and closing deals, while your lead manager is creating those opportunities with the follow-ups, with getting intaking the new calls and the new leads that come in. While acquisitions is closing, they're determining who in this pipeline is ready for acquisitions to talk to. No, my lead manager is in-house. She actually used to do sales, but she's an in-house person. But that doesn't mean that you can't use a virtual assistant. I think if you're going to use a virtual assistant for a lead manager, you're going to want to use somebody who has a little bit more experience, somebody that is able to build good rapport and has empathy and is able to speak and put on the investor hat, able to speak like an investor, like a buyer. Same thing as an acquisitions manager. You want to have that type of skill with your lead manager as well. Maybe a little bit more nurturing, a little bit more empathetic, because you want that person to build rapport and to be friends. They're almost like a nurturing mother, almost. When you send a lead to acquisitions, like, they're beating them up, getting them down on price, and then your lead should be able to fall back to your lead manager as if like that person is like their safe place, somebody to talk to, somebody that can understand them, and they should be able to fall back on that rapport and just keep that nurturing until they're ready again to talk with acquisitions to get that deal closed. VAs are a great way to use as lead managers. You're probably going to want to pay them much more than you would a cold caller, because you're going to teach them a lot more skills on how to run numbers and wear the hat of an investor. They need to be able to make offers. They need to be able to look and discuss different exit strategies and opportunities and solutions to acquisitions to get whatever solution or whatever situations that's going on, to be able to tailor that solution to that lead. So they need to be able to think like an investor as well. So our lead manager is making these ballpark offers, because a lot of people will say they're motivated and say they're ready to sell until you hit them with that offer. And then they're like, oh no, I'm not doing that. That's too much. Or, you know what, I'm not ready right now. The lead manager is going to hit them with that offer and determine at that point if that person is ready to sign a contract. Because if somebody's ready for an offer, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're ready to sign a contract. Some people are just... So that's what the lead manager is determining within that conversation. The difference between the two conversations is lead manager is more, again, it's talking about situation, motivation, goals of the seller, why they're interested in selling. If we are able to come to agreement on price, how soon are you ready to move forward with the paperwork? What do you like to do for fun? What do you do for work? That type of conversation, the nurturing stuff, and also the intel gathering. Acquisitions is taking the intel that lead manager is giving them, and they're formulating the best price, the best options, best solution for that person. So acquisitions is having a negotiation, a closing conversation, which is, hey, if we can get you X price, closing X date, and be able to offer you moving assistance, is that something that you're willing to do today? If not, what's going to get the deal done today? I'm at X price and you're at this price. Would we be able to meet in the middle? Those type of conversations. They're having closing conversations. And sometimes it takes acquisitions to go belly to belly, and sometimes they're going to use the rapport that lead manager has built. Like this person came back from Mexico. Maybe acquisitions might want to, follow up on, how their vacation went before they even go into negotiations. So they're transferring that rapport over to them, be able to get a little bit of uh, that friendly vibe, I guess you can say, to where acquisitions is not like all the way the bad guy, but more of the person that's here to help them solve an issue. But they're also having that closing conversation, the numbers conversation, 75% of the time, more often than not. You got to have thick skin. You got to be able to take rejection. That's just sales. You got to be able to eat what you kill. So if you're not able to take rejection and you get down about it because you didn't get your deal for this month, instead of crying about it and being um, down for the rest of the day and not being able to make your next call, you're out there on the phones hunting for your next deal. Acquisitions is a hunter. They're more witty. They're more quick on their feet, able to think on their feet, and um, acquisitions. You really gotta be knowledgeable. You gotta be knowledgeable about the market, so you can speak as a buyer. You gotta come from that buyer's perspective, but also be able to have enough empathy to understand the situations of the seller, and um, be able to make sure that that seller understands you as an investor. So you got to be able to carry a rapport. You can't just be smacking everybody in the face with numbers and hardcore negotiations. You got to be a little bit soft with it. You got to know how to read the room. You got to know how to manage the conversation, be able to use your tonality to your advantage, and know who you're speaking to, whether you're speaking to an analytical seller, you're speaking to a emotional, empathetic seller, you're speaking to a hardcore negotiator, a red type personality. Um, you got to be able to read people. You got to be able to understand people. So acquisitions has got to be thick-skinned, quick-witted, but also they got to have empathy as well and be able to build rapport. When our lead manager gives them that initial ballpark, what will tell us if that person's ready to sign an agreement or not is if, number one, they ask that question, you ready to sign the paperwork? And they're like, yes. And two, if they come down on price, hey, I can do this price. I can't do that price, but I could do this price. If you can't do this price, what's the best price you can give us in return? And if that seller comes down slightly or even a lot, they immediately go to acquisitions for an offer, assuming that they're ready to sign the paperwork and ready to see us. And then once acquisitions makes the offer, they're having that closing conversation. If they need to go out and see the property, usually we try to close them over the phone. But if this person, a lot of old school players, they really want to do deals face to face, if they have to do it, we'll go out there and look at the property. If not, if it's a virtual property, maybe it's in a different city, then we'll try to do a Zoom meeting with the seller and try to close it over a Zoom meeting. So at least you get that belly to belly, that one-on-one type of rapport. It's not the same, but it's better than just over the phone, a faceless conversation. So they can actually put a face to the name. And then if that person agrees to the price, we're sending out a contract ASAP. We're sending out a contract and we're going over that contract over the phone with these folks. We're going over that agreement line by line. If it's a seller that is really analytical, that wants all the details of the agreement, we're going over that line by line. If not, if they're like, yeah, I'm cool, let's go, let's get it done, we'll summarize it, hit the main key points, go over that contract with them, and then we'll sign it over the phone and we'll get the deal done. Sometimes people might want to think about it. They might want to talk to the wife, this and that and the other. We'll try to get future objections out of them. Hey, sounds like you're ready to do this deal, but you want to talk to your wife. I completely respect that. What concerns would your wife might have with the agreement? Do you think that she would be okay with the price? If she's not okay with the price, what does that mean for us? Does that mean that we're not doing business together, Mr. Seller? So we'll try to get future objections out of them if if they're not ready to sign the agreement. So that way, when we follow up, we get specific commitments out of them, which we have on our no limit sales system. Shout out to No Limit Sales System, Todd Toback. He put a really good sales system together that we use. One of them is reviewing commitments and getting commitments out of these sellers, because if you don't get commitments out of them, then these sellers are gonna, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So we'll try to get all the objections out and we'll try to close that deal. Once it's closed, we get that contract signed. Then it goes over to the transaction coordinator, over to the title company, and over to Dispo. We'll sell the deal, we'll make some money. Man, transaction coordinators are key. After you sign a contract, there's still a whole nother world that you got to deal with. Especially if you have dead people. Man, if you have dead people involved, you might have like 4 or 5 other people to negotiate with. And transaction coordinators are there to handle the paperwork, and be a liaison from the title company to your sellers and also to your buyers. So your transaction coordinator is a really key part in your business. They really make sure that that transaction goes smoothly. They're on the front, they're on the back end, making sure that the paperwork is in order, payoffs are being made, any documents, seller info sheets, affidavit of heirships. They're getting all that paperwork filled so that way you can get your money and close the deal. And not only that, they're also being in touch with your sellers, scheduling closings. So they're a really key part in the business, because that's all that back end work that you as an investor don't want to do, or you as a wholesaler. You want to be up there negotiating deals, and you want that transaction coordinator to be able to handle the things that you've already contracted and get it all the way to close. So I say, not only is lead manager really important and your VAs to generate those leads, I think like your top three people that you want to hire would be your lead manager, your VAs to generate your leads, and your transaction coordinator. I'd hire them before you ever hire an acquisitions person. I hire an agent to do my dispositions. And the reason why is because, number one, he's got a license. So it allows me to have the benefits of having a license while also not being licensed, so I can be creative enough to not have to deal with all the hoopla. At least in Texas. I know in some places, some states, you have to be licensed to wholesale, not in Texas. So having a dispo agent, they were an agent, legit, like with the license and everything. And I brought them on. And usually somebody that's an agent that isn't having that deal flow that an investor or a company like ourselves can provide them. So they give us, MLS access so we can run numbers, and they give us discounted rates on listing properties and rentals. So that's the benefit of having a dispo agent as a legit licensed agent. And what they do is they sell all our deals. That's what they do. They sell our deals. They make sure every single deal has a buyer, backup buyer, plan C buyer, and they make sure that the earnest money is coming in, that the buyer knows what they're getting into as far as all the details of the deal, what they're signing up for, and they manage them all the way to close. They build that buyer's list to make sure that they're handling their investor-buyer relations with care, building up that VIP list, that relationship with that buyer, so that way we get repeatable business through certain investors in certain areas. And they're overall a really big part in our business, because a bad dispo agent will sell your deal for $2,000. A good dispo agent that knows how to maybe reverse search buyers, knows how to manage these relationships, they'll sell that deal for, a bad deal for $10,000, maybe $15,000. So they can make good deals, or they can make bad deals into good deals sometimes if you have the right person. Again, lead manager. So your VA generating your leads. They're cold calling, they're hunting for that person that says, yes, I am ready to sell, and I am willing to sell maybe for a discount, um, or even not a discount, whatever. That goes into lead management universe, where that person is actively um, making sure that that person is ready for an offer at a discounted rate. And if not, they're putting them on the back burner and following up with them until they are ready to sell. Acquisitions is trying to close every single deal that is motivated and ready to sign a contract. Once it's signed, then it goes over to transaction coordinator, who is going to get it to title, who is going to touch base with the seller, and then also at the same time, once it's contracted, it goes over to dispo, to where they are selling that deal, whether it be on the market, whether it be off market, whether it be a rental. If you take it down yourself, they're marketing your deals and getting them sold, and that's it. That's the life of a deal. That's the life. That's all you need. You just need VAs. I mean, you can have one VA, lead manager. You as the business owner can do acquisitions or dispositions, whichever one you want to do. So really, you need about four. You really need about 4 employees to really have a 6-7 figure business. If you're starting out, man, you need to get a deal. You need to get a deal. You need to build that capital. And I say, once you build enough capital, I'd say at least 10 grand, honestly. If you come up on a 5 grand check, do it again. Build up, know how to get a deal, hire a VA, which I came up with I made a really nice video for you guys on how to hire VAs, really good VAs. So watch that video so you guys know how to make your first hire, who then you can leverage in getting leads for you to negotiate more deals. And then once you get more deals, at least have between 3 to 5 months of reserves in your bank account to hire that first person. So I think you asked me the question, how much should you pay an acquisitions person? So what we pay, or I think what a lot of people, it depends. It depends on how you want to structure it. But how we do it is we hire with a salary plus commission, right? We give them a salary that's it's not enough to live on, about 2 to 3 grand salary, because that person needs to hunt. They need to kill what they eat. If you just give them a big salary, they don't have no motivation to go and get deals. So you give them just enough of a salary, and you can give them a salary or on a draw for maybe 3 to 6 months to get them ramped up. And then maybe they can go on all commission, or you can keep that small salary with maybe 10% commission. So yeah, salary, small salary, commission 10, maybe 15%. If you're doing no salary, maybe you want to do 15 to 20%. So I hope you guys learned a lot from this video and the questions that were being asked. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one.